And we're back on Unpacking It. I'm Bryce Johnson. Check out our website, unpackingit.com. You can always email me, bryce@unpackingit.com. Let me know what you're convinced of this week, and you can respond to some of the topics that we discussed last segment and give me your thoughts, bryce@unpackingit.com. Also, be sure to find us on Facebook, Unpacking It. And we share some content on there throughout the week as well. I'm fired up about the NFL playoffs and looking forward to the matchup between the Chargers and the Patriots. And during our last segment on the show, I've got some thoughts specifically on Phillip Rivers and how his story relates to our lives. And so definitely stick around for that. But the NBA is getting going as well. And so I'm thrilled to welcome on our guest today. And joining us now on Unpacking It is the Emmy award-winning host of TNT's Inside the NBA. You can also see him hosting the coverage of the NCAA Tournament for Turner and CBS. More importantly, he's a follower of Jesus, a husband, and a father of 6 children. He's the author of the book called UNSCRIPTED, The Unpredictable Moments That Make Life Extraordinary. It shares stories about his career, battling cancer, adoption, and raising a special needs child. I am thrilled to welcome Ernie Johnson, my favorite guest, back on the show. Ernie, thanks so much for joining us. How are you?
Bryce, I'm doing great, man. I hope you are too. Thanks a lot for having me.
Well, we're glad to have you back, and I'm glad to hear you're doing well. But specifically, I know that your health caused you to miss doing play-by-play during the baseball playoffs because of a blood clot. So how are you feeling now?
Well, I feel the same now as I did then, which is I feel good. It's just a question of how the blood clots develop there, and so we're really still in that phase of it, trying to figure out why it happened in the first place. And so I feel great, and I can, at first I was told I couldn't fly, so that's what knocked me out of baseball postseason. But I have flown since. I'm just very smart about it and getting up and moving around, and still on blood thinners, and we're just trying to get to the bottom of it. But I feel great.
Man, so it's not necessarily preventing you from doing anything at the moment?
No, it's not. In fact, first flight I took was the day before the match between Tiger and Phil. I flew out to Vegas to do that, and so I don't have any restrictions travel-wise now. I just we're just trying to get to the bottom of why the blood clots came about.
Man, okay, gotcha. Well, glad that you're at least feeling well. And well, you mentioned the match. What was your takeaway from that big TV event?
Well, I wish that both guys had played a little better.
Yeah.
Obviously, because the golf course was set up for it to be a birdie fest, and it was, those were pretty rare on that day. Beautiful golf course, Shadow Creek, just spectacular. And it was fun to be part of because it was different, where you have both players and both caddies mic'd, and just from a technical standpoint, it was one of the most involved things I've ever been in, because I had 2 announcers with me, and then there were 3 more on another set, and you got 2 caddies and 2 players all mic'd, and you got a producer talking to you while this is all going on. You're trying to, everybody's trying to catch what's being said, and at the same time, if somebody said something really cool, if Tiger and Phil had an exchange, and this happened a few times, where Tiger and Phil had a decent exchange, and we just played it back, just a few seconds after it had happened, because maybe Charles Barkley was making a point at that point, or Darren Clark, or Peter Jacobson, who were working with me. So it was really a fun event to be at, and I think when Tiger chipped in at the 17th, it was like, oh, here we go again, and then to finish with extra holes under the lights just added to it. It was a fun day to be out there.
We're talking with Ernie Johnson right now on Unpacking It, and saw that you're going to be inducted into the Atlanta Sports Hall of Fame in February. So how excited are you about that, and what did you think about the news when you heard about it?
What's crazy, Bryce? This is insane. That the month of February for me, and I don't know how all this happens. You see, because last year the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame called me and said they wanted to induct me into the state of Georgia Sports Hall of Fame.
Cool.
And I said, well, I can't do that because I can't be there because I'm going to be doing All-Star Weekend for the NBA. And they said, well, we really like our guys to be here for the induction ceremony, so we'll push you to 2019. So what's going to happen is that in early February, I'm going into the Atlanta Sports Hall of Fame, and then in late February, I'm going to the state of Georgia Sports Hall of Fame.
Oh,
and so
man.
So the month is bookended that way. And what's really special to me is that my dad is in both of those two.
Wow.
And so to be inducted into those halls and to be able to know that my dad and I are both in there, it's beyond special. It really is.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, congratulations and well deserved. And
thank you.
That's neat to be a part of that. Well, it's been the first couple of months of the NBA season, and you're in the middle of it all. Is there a theme or a big takeaway from what you've seen so far early in the year?
Well, I mean, I think everybody, looks at Golden State when the season starts. Everybody says, well, are we just going to give them another title, or is there going to be somebody who stands in their way? And I think really there's a part of the American sports public that wants to see them vulnerable, that wants to see them not be given a pass into another championship. And so they kind of when something happens, they latch onto it and say, "Oh, see, look at Draymond Green and Kevin Durant aren't getting along. See, it's about to crumble. It's all going to collapse." And then they kind of remedy that, and then it's, "Oh, look, they lost by 20. They're and so I think there's that feeling, almost rooting by some people that against Golden State repeating, and. Maybe there is a little more vulnerability, but again, this is a team that's going to have DeMarcus Cousins.
Oof.
This is like a team that's just going to make this huge trade and bring this guy in mid-season. And this is a team that's never really, their weakness has been in the middle, and now you're going to bring DeMarcus Cousins in. So I'd like to see how that is all going to play out and how they incorporate him and how that whole mix of all these high-profile all-stars, how that meshes. Otherwise, it's been, Denver's been a surprise. I think it's a team that doesn't have many superstars. It has a guy named Nikola Jokic who can do everything, and for a big man, he passes the ball exceptionally well and he scores and rebounds. So this guy can give you triple doubles, but otherwise it's not a team of luminaries. Jamal Murray's got a lot of potential. Gary Harris is good. So, there are some teams out there. Denver, Oklahoma City, Houston. Don't give up on Houston. They're starting to find their way. Who can challenge Golden State, but it's still the Warriors to me who have the team. And in the East, Toronto with Kawhi Leonard, it's been, seeing Kawhi Leonard return to being Kawhi Leonard has been something to see. And so, I think Toronto's really good. I don't know if they can, again, I don't know if anybody beats Golden State 4 times. I think that's ultimately the question you have to ask is any team out there able to beat them 4 times? And again, you think about last year, and Houston came so close. And if Chris Paul doesn't hurt a hamstring, maybe Houston knocks them off in the Western Conference Final. So, it just adds to the intrigue, and I'm looking forward to it. We're getting close to that halfway point of the season, and some of the same questions we had on opening day are still hanging over us.
Right now, we've got to take a quick break, but we've got plenty more with Ernie Johnson, the award-winning broadcaster. He's the best in the business. And so when we come back, our conversation will continue as we discuss faith and books and his book that he wrote. And so it's always great to catch up with Ernie Johnson, and we're just getting going. Check out our website, unpackingit.com. Thanks for joining us right here on Sports Byline USA and SiriusXM, Channel 211.
You're listening to Unpacking It with Bryce Johnson on Sports Byline USA, America's Sports Talk Network.
Hey, it's Bryce Johnson, and really appreciate you listening to the Unpacking It radio show each week. But I want to invite you to check out our website, unpackingit.com, so that you can sign up to receive Unpacking It each day in your email. That's right. We send out an encouraging, challenging, inspiring word through email. It's in written form. It's a devotional that takes a current sports story, relates it to the Bible. We call it Unpack This. And you can subscribe for free by going to unpackingit.com. It's designed to help you grow in your faith and help you understand the Bible better, all with a little sports and some of the cool stories going on in the world of sports. And so we encourage you to check it out. It's for you, and it's about 2 minutes each weekday in your inbox. Check it out, unpackingit.com, and subscribe to Unpack This. And while you're at it, be sure to subscribe to our podcast as well. We're unpacking sports, faith, and life with Ernie Johnson. I'm Bryce Johnson, no relation, but he's my favorite guest and always love having him on the show. And so if you missed any part of the last segment, be sure to check out our podcast. Just go to unpackingit.com. And so for you personally, it's the start of a new year. Do you have a focus for 2019 personally and spiritually that you could share and maybe that might even be an encouragement to people listening today?
I never really, I'm the worst, Bryce, at like making New Year's resolutions. So I really don't make those. There are times where I say, you know what I want to try to do is be a better communicator with people who are getting in touch with me and not letting, emails and texts back up, and just say, make the time to answer this now. Don't act like you're so busy that you can't get to it. And so I think that's an area that I really have to improve in. And so I'm making strides. But aside from that, it's just, I want my job. My job has provided me so many cool moments. And we're talking 30 years of sitting in that chair now.
Oh, man.
As the host of Inside the NBA. And some of the things that have happened recently, having the chance to meet Tyler Trent not long ago, and his story, the 20-year-old Purdue student who has cancer, and he was kind of adopted by the Purdue football team and made a co-captain, and has this terminal disease, and he's honored by ESPN at the College Football Awards. And that day I had a chance to go down to his hotel room and meet him and his dad and mom and everybody. And this guy's faith was so rock solid. It was just amazing. And he handed me one of his yellow bands that said Tyler Strong, and has a scripture verse, 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18, and rejoice always, and pray continually, and give thanks in all circumstances. And to have that has his bedrock during this time was just so encouraging. And later that night, after the award ceremony, he and his family came over to the studio, had a chance to meet Charles and Kenny and Shaq, and we did a segment with him. And then just on New Year's Day, he passed, and at the age of 20. But he's, that's what I really want. I wish every time I went to the studio, there could be, that kind of a meeting or that kind of a moment that happens. And so I think I've really been on the lookout for more of, in 2019, of just moments where we can all kind of try to make a difference. And I'm not trying to get real deep and real philosophical here,
That's
Bryce,
all right.
but
that's all right.
But we have, I have, and we have, people in the media have this platform. So how are you going to use a platform is my question. Are you going to use the platform as a pedestal to say, hey, everybody, look at me, look at the job I have, aren't I cool? Hey, look, aren't I doing a great job? Or are you going to use that platform as a vantage point to be able to look out and see who you can help? Use your platform as a vantage point to see where you can make a difference, where you can help somebody else out. Don't use it as a pedestal to try to draw attention to yourself. So I'm glad you asked the question, because it was like I've been rolling that around in my mind, and you kind of forced me to articulate it there. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Oh, that's excellent. Very, very neat to hear, and I'm right there with you. Ernie Johnson, our guest right now on Unpacking It. I saw you tweet, or somebody even tweeted at you. You responded, and the quotes that came up that were actually used in your book: "Hurry is the great enemy of spiritual life. You must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life." And so Dallas Willard, and then the book Soul Keeping by John Ortberg. And I'm actually reading that book, Soul Keeping, right now. So it's on my mind and heart. And so I just share those two quotes and want to get your perspective on those two things and how they even relate to what you were just talking about.
Oh, no, I mean, and I'm glad you're reading that book, because John Ortberg has been a favorite of mine. The first time I met him was like back in 1998, somewhere around there.
Yeah. And
I was actually at a leadership conference up at Willow Creek Church outside Chicago, and he was on the staff there with Bill Hybels, and I had a chance to meet him. But his style from the pulpit was just so. I mean, it was hard for me to describe. It was just like this friend talking to you. He had this wonderful communication style, and then then I started. I saw that he had written a couple of books, so I've read all the stuff he's written.
Cool.
And Soul Keeping was the best of the bunch, and the way he describes his relationship with Dallas Willard, the great theologian, and the way he says, the way he talks about some of their conversations is just fascinating. And so something like that really jumped out at me. Hurry is the great enemy of the spiritual life, and you must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. When they use the term ruthlessly, it's that's not like you should try to eliminate hurry from your life. Ruthless means, man, you've got to go after it and cut it out. And so that's what I've tried to do, because if you're constantly in a hurry, then there is no way you're going to be able to see the need around you, because everything's going to be tied into, I got to get here, I got to get there. And so I think that's a huge thing for all of us. I mean, and I plead guilty to it for the longest time, just rushing through life and not being able to notice the things around you. And so, if you can eliminate hurry, I mean, that allows you the ability to have the time to do.
That's right. And so practically for you, I mean, you're a busy guy, of course. You've got all these different platforms and shows and sports to follow and keep up with, and the people that you're able to connect with, and so you're as busy as anybody out there. Everybody's got opportunities to be busy. So the difference between embracing the opportunities but not hurrying through to the next thing and not embracing the moment, how do you practically live that out or continue to learn to do that?
Well, I see what I think what you need to know, and what I think what you need to realize is it's not like every effort you make is going to take 6 hours to do. Sometimes all a coworker wants from you is 5 minutes or 30 seconds to say, how you doing? And to be able to unload on you, or in just, tell somebody may want to tell you something that is heavy on their hearts, but you had your face in your in your iPhone as you walk down the hall and walked right by him, and he was like, "No, I'm too busy. I gotta see if anybody's responded to my tweets. No, I gotta answer this email." And I think we have way too much of that, of looking down and not looking up and looking around, and just we've kind of lost that interpersonal communication. And I think we have to be very intentional about, if you ask somebody how you doing, be intentional about it. I want to know how you're doing. How can I help you? What's going on in your life? And try to be that person. I mean, you never know how, because I've heard from people months later who have said something like, "Man, I'm so glad we had that 5 minutes after lunch that time, when I was able to tell you about what was going on." And you don't realize that. You don't realize what a difference we can all be if we are intentional about it and put other people first. We just gotta do it. And I think we're at a time, where, I don't know, it's almost celebrated to be self-centered, and to be concerned about yourself, and to see how many followers you have, and to, that kind of thing. I think you really need to step back and say, this is not about me. Wake up in the morning and say, what can I do for you? I told the graduating class at the University of Georgia, I made the commencement speech there a couple of years ago, which was one of the highlights of my life. But I said, look, what you've got to do is have the same slogan as the Ritz-Carlton did. Their slogan was "Ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen." That's what we got to do. Let's look for ways that we can serve when we get up in the morning, and not say, "Boy, how's somebody going to serve me? It's just about time, isn't it?" Let's have our eyes and our ears and our hearts open for how we can help.
Very cool. No, that's awesome. And then, of course, I've got to ask you about your book, and it's been a couple years now since it's been out. Is there maybe a story that stands out to you of somebody that's responded about the book that just really encouraged you, and you just saw God really work in someone's life based on them reading your book, which is called Unscripted? Encourage people to check that out as well.
There have been so many times, Bryce, that people have come up to me out of the blue just to tell me that they've read it, or that it was gifted to them, or that somebody bought it for their dad who was just beginning cancer treatments or something like that. And that's been the most powerful part about it. And really it goes back to the reason that I wrote it in the first place. I was just like, look, if this can speak to somebody on some kind of level, whether it's battling cancer, or adopting kids, or dealing with special needs children, or the father-son relationship, I said, that's the people we're trying to reach on some level. And I've heard from people on all those levels. And it really is knee buckling for me every time it happens.
I bet.
I had a son in an airport come up to me and say, "Hey, my dad and I have not had a really good relationship for years, but my last birthday, he gave me your book, and it's kind of opened up doors between us." And I was like, "Man," I said, "you couldn't say anything more powerful to me than that."
Man.
So that's been very cool, man. It was such a wonderful project to undertake, and then to see that kind of reaction to it has been really cool. So
that's awesome.
Not to get specific, but it really has been. It's just been, it used to be anytime I saw somebody in an airport, it was like, "Hey, where's Charles? Hey, where's Shaq?" Or, "Hey, do you think the Warriors are going to win it again?" And now it's amazing that for the number of people who have just come up to me and said, "Man, I loved your book," and it means the world.
I love it. That's awesome. Great to hear. The book is called Unscripted: The Unpredictable Moments That Make Life Extraordinary. He's Ernie Johnson. And Ernie, always love catching up with you. I always tell people my favorite guest on the show is Ernie Johnson, so it's great to have you on again, and really appreciate all that you do for the kingdom and to love people and just the example that you are on TV. So greatly appreciate all that you do.
Bryce, thank you so much for having me on. It's always great talking to you, and hope you have an outstanding 2019, my brother.
Awesome. You too. He's Ernie Johnson. Always love having him on the show. Coming up next, we'll do our segment Unpack This about Phillip Rivers. This is Unpacking It.